The drivers of the Simpit Indycar series headed to Homestead, Miami for week 6 and 38 laps of the very difficult to drive Variation A of the road course that resides on the infield of the oval track. Homestead is a roval track that utilizes the front and back stretch of the oval and then has a tight, windy infield section that can be very slick. Passing is difficult as the drivers prepare for 38 laps of the 2.21 mile long track. Ricardo Chivon was the fastest qualifier this week with a lap of 107.983, a hair over 2/10 faster than Alex Saunders, who started on the outside of the front row. As the grid came from the infield onto the front stretch for the green flag, Chivon paced the field until the pace car pulled down onto pit lane. Chivon timed the start nicely and jumped out to an early lead over Saunders and the rest of the field. Starting from third place, Ardo Amaki didn't get a very good start, and this allowed Mitchell de Jong to get a good run on him down low. Amaki didn't see him underneath and crosses the nose of de Jong. He gets turned around and spun hard into the inside retaining wall. De Jong got by and took over the third spot as the rest of the racers started to get things sorted out. By the end of the first lap, Chivon and Saunders had broken away a little bit over de Jong, who was fighting Ryan Littlemore for third, and Andreas Merck was now running in 5th place. On lap 3, Michael Thompson would make a bold move on John Hill going into turn 6. He shot up the inside of Hill, who seemed to touch a little extra brake and let Thompson by. Thompson ends up not being able to slow up enough, going off track. He saved it, but this ended up costing him 5 spots, dropping him all the way back to 19th. On lap 4, Ryan Littlemore got a little loose in the tight section, but he saves it before going around. This did allow Andreas Merck and Joni Kajanen to get by, dropping Littlemore back to 6th. At the tail end of lap 5, Littlemore started to fight Joni Kajanen back for that 6th spot. Coming off the backstretch, Littlemore goes down low, but Kajanen keeps fighting him through the chicanes and onto the front stretch. They fought all the way down into turn 1 until Littlemore finally took back that 5th position. On lap 7, Eric Davis took a look inside of Kajanen for 6th. He locked up the wheels and nearly lost it. He regained the car, but this allowed me to get a run on him. Going into the fast right-hander, I had to back out slightly to prevent a collision, and we were all back underway again. Later that same lap, transitioning onto the front stretch, Littlemore got a great run and passed Andreas Merck, taking 4th place. Kajanen is now right on the gearbox of Merck. By turn 6, Kajanen was still there, and Littlemore slowed up slightly with trouble in turn 6. This made Merck check up slightly, and then when he gassed it again, he looped the car. This dropped him way back and took him out of contention for the race. By the quarter-way mark of the race, Ricardo Chivon was still in the lead, with Alex Saunders keeping him in check only a few car lengths back. Clearly holding on to third and running all alone now was Mitchell de Jong, and a ways back of him was the tandem of Littlemore and Kajanen rounding out the top 5. At the tail end of the 9th lap, and after fighting all race long, Kevin Chalk got loose on the tricky transition to the front stretch. Jan Hoffman, who had spent all race looking for a way around Chalk, still couldn't find that line and hits the spinning car in front of him. Both cars take on significant damage, and it ends Hoffman's day. Chalk continued on. On lap 16, Saunders pushes wide on the tough corner coming off the backstretch. He continued that wide line trying to keep the car on track, but by the next corner, he's off track. He does do a great job of keeping it forward, but this does allow Chivon to build up a small gap as they get closer to pit stops. Then 2 laps before the halfway mark and a lap after his spin, Saunders decides it's a good time to head to pit lane. De Jong stays out and inherits 2nd place for now. On lap 18, you could tell Saunders was trying to make up for lost ground on his now fresh tires. He came up on Pierre Bourdon running in 10th place and made a move off the backstretch and back down into the infield. It's hard to say if they touched slightly or if Bourdon just got loose, but both cars end up spinning off the track and losing plenty of time. They both headed for pit lane, Saunders' 2nd time in his mini laps. Lap 19, Ryan Littlemore catches Mitchell de Jong under braking into turn 6. he carried plenty of speed and does a great job of passing him on the outside. Meanwhile, halfway home, and Shyvon skips pit lane. He is now out to a monster-sized lead over Littlemore, who is now in second place, with DeJean running in third, but heading for pit lane. Lap 20, Littlemore heads for pit lane while running in second, and Kajanen, who had inherited third place when DeJean pitted, also turned in for pit lane just behind Littlemore. When Littlemore exited the pits, he came out right back in front of DeJean, and their battle picked up right where it left off before the pit cycles. Lap 21, we would finally see the leader, Ricardo Shyvon, head for pit lane. And at this point, he had a pretty safe lead over second place Littlemore. And before the pit rotations began, Eric Davis had been running in sixth place. But he stayed out and jumped into the lead of the race, with all of the other top five having already pitted. By lap 22, the battle between DeJean and Littlemore kept going. As they came off the infield, DeJean got a great run down low onto the front stretch and passed him going into turn 1, taking back that position. At the tail end of lap 23, Eric Davis shot down pit lane, and all normal was restored with Ricardo Shyvon taking over the lead again. A bit further back was DeJean, now running in second, with Littlemore right on him in third, Joni Kajanen in fourth. As Eric Davis rolled off pit lane, he would also see Yigit Tescan and me go by, and this pushed him all the way back to seventh place. On lap 25, the battle for fifth started to get intense as I looked for a way by Tescan. This held me up a little, and then Davis got in the back of me in the middle of turn 4. He took over sixth position, and I did a good job of getting the car underway again. However, this allowed Martin Carroll to also go by and drop me back to 8th place. By lap 26, the field was strung out all over the track. You had some lapped cars in between, but the battle for second place hadn't slowed down one bit, as DeJean still had a narrow lead over Littlemore, still in pursuit. By lap 28, the battle between those two continued on. This time, Littlemore made a move under braking into turn 6. He got by, but he couldn't hold the corner, and DeJean takes the spot right back again. By lap 29, Eric Davis had moved up into position to challenge Tescan for 5th. Davis made a move on the inside of Tescan, who gave him plenty of room and dropped back to 6th place. At the 3/4 mark in the race, Ricardo Shyvon was all alone out front by well over 10 seconds, and he was gaining time each lap as DeJean and Littlemore continued to battle for second. Meanwhile, Joni Kajanen, running in 4th, had started to close in on the battle between them as well. Eric Davis rounded out the top 5 with only 9 laps left in the race. On lap 30, while still in pursuit of DeJean, Littlemore went off track while trying to transition to the infield from the backstretch. He kept it going forward, but this did allow Kajanen to get by, taking over 3rd. That gain in position for Kajanen would be short-lived as Littlemore got things back underway, and he passed him back by turn 1 only a moment later. With 5 laps to go, Shyvon is now on cruise control and leading the way. DeJean is now more comfortably running in 2nd, and a slight gap back to Littlemore in 3rd. Kajanen at 4th, Davis still in 5th. With 1 lap to go, Ricardo Shyvon came to the line with a 15-second lead over DeJean and Littlemore, who were still going at it. In fact, with just over a lap to go for them, they were the best battle on the track. Shyvon went on to win by 16 seconds all alone. DeJean and Littlemore battled all the way to the line, with Mitchell DeJean holding him off and finishing in 2nd. 3rd place went to Ryan Littlemore, followed by Joni Kajanen in 4th. Eric Davis finished in 5th, with Yigit Tescan taking 6th. I ended up finishing in 7th place, followed by Alex Saunders, Liam Quinn, and Armando Edwards rounding out the top 10. After 6 races, the points are starting to tighten up a bit, with Ricardo Shyvon taking over the points lead with 505. John Hill is now 2nd in the points at 444, and I find myself in 3rd, just 11 points back from Hill. In 4th is Nigel Marneef with 416 points, and Michael Thompson is in 5th with 364. The Simpit Indycar Series heads to Mid-Ohio this weekend for 38 laps of road course fun. Please visit thesimpit.com for more information on this series and other recaps like this one. Once again, congratulations to Ricardo Scheivon on his win, and we'll see you next week.